Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. And peace be bestowed unto you, elect. My brother Yahweh called from Great Millstone, Orlando. And it's got a series of videos I want to get into. It's probably going to be a bit one of the longer videos, because there's a lot going on, a lot of information to bring out, and it just has me meditating because I know brothers are going through whatever brothers are going through, whatever brothers are dealing with. But the Lord has a certain spirit out there to where, we ought to stay focused on the joy in Yahweh Shai, all right? Because with all this being said, we have the truth, we have the names. As it's been said, things are going to get tougher, it's going to get tighter, it's going to get harder, I always talk about how, hey, we talk the talk. Like I said, get into the prophecies, what's getting ready to happen, and things of that nature. But soon we're going to have to walk that walk. We're going to have to live through it. All right. But it is not a thing to fret, of course. All right. And that's why we're being exercised in faith, because we look forward to these things, But with all that being said, like I was saying, staying focused in Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, all right, that joy in Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai, because it's easy to get caught up into the entanglements of this world, the bullshit problems that we deal with, but I can at least speak for myself, and I'm sure I speak for others, because in those moments where, like I said, Jake is tired, Jake is worn out. But in those moments, man, the Lord, he finds a way to, revive your hope and keep it, keep our hopes alive. So getting back into it, like I said, because, just with everything that's going on, like I said, there's a lot going on. And that's why I want to get into a few videos, just to touch on a few things. And hey, being that we're in this wilderness, all right. Hey, this is a refresher. It's that glass of water. Cold water, refreshing. All right. It's a reviver. Because we're at the end. So, that being said, I got this first video, and of course, I just want to say fair use. I'm not making any type of monetary gain off of any of these videos. It's strictly for informational purposes only. But this first video I got here, going into the news that came out earlier today about this blackout that took place in some Europe nations. All right, and just watching this video, it's bringing out a few points, which I just wanted to put out there, because when it comes to Esau and his narratives, because with this blackout, it's like, what's the narrative, or at least the narrative that they're going to push out, and how are they going to use this? Because immediately when things like this happen, especially when it comes to like a blackout, I immediately think it's just a beta test, a beta run, for the real deal. Because blackouts are coming to America. It is going to get dark here in America. All right. And again, immediately it made me just think how this could just be one of those tests for when it comes here to America, to see how the people are going to react. Whatever the case may be, there's different scenarios or different possibilities, which is again why I want to play this video, because he brought out some interesting points concerning these blackouts in Europe, parts of Europe. So without rambling, I'm gonna go ahead and play.
Spain that's being blamed by a, quote, rare atmospheric phenomenon. What? As Valentina Gomez says, they always find a way to blame it on some climate change or some bullish excuse. Nuclear power is the only clean and reliable source of energy, as Europe has also been getting rid of their nuclear power plants, by the way. Yeah, Spain, by the way, has been cutting down their coal-powered energy plants. Yeah, because they want to appease Greta Thunberg, I guess. And that could be one potential explanation here. It could be that there was some kind of solar flare, okay, that just specifically went out of their way and hit Spain. But again, when we're talking about what was going on here, I don't know. That just seems like a very convenient thing to kind of. They don't know. Like, it just happened. Communication's down, right? I don't know. This just seems too much of a convenient explanation here, and it wouldn't surprise me if later down the line we kind of go back to here and like, oh yeah, they just lied. It was something else. It was the Green New Deal. It was the net zero policies that we're passing here in Europe that's going to really appease Greta Thunberg. Yeah, net zero, awesome. We're going to get rid of energy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to make energy more expensive for poor people. Yeah. It's going to raise the prices of everything. Yeah. Poor people are going to have to suck it. They're going to have a bad situation. But hey, Greta Thunberg's going to be happy. That little autistic kid's going to be so happy. We got to do it for her, guys. We have to do it for Greta. Do it for Greta. Screw those poors. Screw them. Let Greta live in her nice, fancy, schmancy house and furniture that she really loves and adores. But again, and the reason this policy is so frustrating is because countries like Germany have been getting rid of their nuclear reactors. Countries like the United Kingdom have been getting rid of their coal plants. Spain has been getting rid of their coal plants. They're relying on unreliable sources of energy like wind and solar that aren't as good and efficient, and then they're essentially, in my opinion, creating a very desperate situation for the poorest people in the world, but also bringing us on the brink of potentially what could be explained for what's happening right now in Portugal and Spain and parts of France. As the European Union was warning everyone to stockpile supplies in case of war. Is this the first shot of war? Is this a situation where the Russians are saying, yeah, there's not going to be any peace deal being made by the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians don't want to make any deal here, even from the deal that the United States is pressuring them to kind of do here. So, we're going to go to war with Europe. Let's go to war with Europe. Let's just take down all of their energy. Is that what's happening here? I think very unlikely, but worth talking about here since, the European Union has been pushing for this type of fight with Russia for a very long time, especially within the last few days and weeks. Now, Europe, I don't think it was a coincidence that Europe was saying, hey guys, make sure you got supplies. Make sure you got first aid kits. Make sure you got your medication. Make sure you got some storable food. Make sure you got some crackers. Make sure you got some water. Make sure you guys are ready. I don't think that was an accident in response to everything that's kind of unfolding.
And you had several nations basically telling their people to, stock up, prepare, get ready. So, it's not a coincidence. Nothing is a coincidence.
Kind of unfolding here right now is the UK government was saying the Russians are going to attack our key pieces of energy infrastructure. The Russians are going to attack our undersea cables that now we rely on very heavily from Norway in order to get our energy here into our country, since we got rid of our coal manufacturing plants, since we're getting rid of our energy domestic production and we're reliant on other countries now. The Russians are going to blow that up in order to attack our infrastructure and cripple our power grid. Interesting there. Again, is this maybe a deliberate false flag now operation to blame the Ruskies? Or is this just an operation by some individuals that want to create the cyber polygon, as there's a possibility that there could be an energy infrastructure attack that could have been done through cyber warfare? Is this another example of either the Ruskies or the Chinese, or a self-inflicted wound with a false flag operation meant to, of course, sow chaos? Or is this just an operation meant to kind of database and look into what's going to happen when huge populations don't have any energy and power? What's really going on here as, of course, the World Economic...
So, you know, like I said, man, Esau, he always has some sort of a narrative. You know, going back to either, you know, Russia, China, in some instances, some cases, Iran to be blamed, to be justified in, you know, going to war or whatever the case may be. All right. You know, and a lot of times it's basically a self-inflicted wound to, again, get the people to react a certain way. Because he talked about in the earlier in this video about, well, let me grab this. Well, she basically said this in the beginning of the video, well, earlier in the video, about the justification of you know, the use of force from the military, you know, because of course with the blackout, and especially when it comes to a certain way of thinking, such as a normacy bias spirit, which these Americans, and that's why I can't wait to see, you know, when the Lord really hits this bitch, you know, because in instances where the power goes out, man, these people, they have faith that the power is eventually going to come back on. It might be hours, might even be a couple of days, but eventually power is going to come back on. So, you know, for the most part, you know, people, they tend to wait it out, you know, and it's the pride of the people. All right, which is why I want to grab this before I grab Revelation 6. I want to grab this in 2 Edges 15. 2 Edges 15. It's 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid, because it's going to get to a point that the lights are not going to come back on. And then what? You know, hours will turn to days, days turn into weeks. You know, and within that time frame, hey, people are going to, I always say, people are going to go about it the ski mask way. All right. People are going to get real desperate and dire. All right. That once that desperation kicks in. All right. Because there's a lot of things, man, that's not being reported on in the mainstream media. The Spirit had me watch some guy that just came across my channel, and I just started watching some of his videos. Going into this whole so-called migrant crisis, especially up there in New York, you know. You know, I saw several of his videos, man. A lot of judges getting arrested for housing these migrants. Just a lot, you know, a lot of things that's not being shown on the mainstream media. All right, America is deteriorating. It's falling apart from within. Because here it is, Trump is just talking about, what was it? Trump was just talking about, I think he saw some executive order dealing with the sanctuary cities. You know, he wants to get a list of these sanctuary cities so that way he can cut off the funding. Which, if he does that, man, You know, it won't be good, needless to say. That won't be good at all, needless to say. All right, cutting off the funding, man. Yeah, that's going to do some serious. That's going to cause some serious damage. Some. Yeah, that's going to be troublesome. Like I just said here, for because of the pride of the cities, for because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled. So you see, all right. And going back to the point, when there's no power, the lights are out. All right. Again, hours turn to days, days turn to weeks. All right. You know, going days and weeks without, food and basic necessities. Well, that's why it goes on to tell you, the houses shall be troubled, Salakia, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. So you see, why is that? Houses being destroyed? Because, like I said, and I always say, people are going to go about it the ski mask way. All right? It's going to be a survival of the fittest. Get it how hey, everyone's going to get it how they can. And if men are going to be afraid, how much more the women? All right? You know, the men being afraid because they're not rooted. These people are not rooted in Yahweh Shemal Shai. You talk about this place being a God-fearing nation, right? And God we trust. Well, the scriptures say there are many gods, many lords. All right. So it's a matter of what God do you serve. You see, that's what it boils down to. What God do you serve? And these people, they're not rooted in Yahweh Shemal Shai. So when this shit finally hits the fan, man. Hey, and again, this is why Lord willing, we are that number, because goddamn, one has, depending on this system, Esau system, when has that ever done us any good, man? You know, people are fighting to barely live, to barely be alive. It's just like, goddamn, something has to give. Everyone's complaining, everyone's tired, But again, the difference is we have a lively hope. All right, that's our difference. And that's why, we're just to a point where it's just, hey, I always say, man, I'd rather just take my chances with the Lord, man. Whether it be in a concentration camp, whether it be in the woods, I don't give a damn. I just want this shit to be over with already, man. Because goddamn, Yeah, let's play some more of this. Matter of fact, yeah, let's read verse 19. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. And I just saw a video where, because again, in light of this blackout in Europe, again, it ensues chaos. Because you would think, and some are suspecting this to be a cyber attack. Again, the narratives to blame Russia, China. Because you would think a blackout, you would think just the lights being out, but when it comes to the power grid being down, that you can't travel, you can't flush your toilet. I mean, it affects everything. No cell phone service, everything is affected because everything is running off of power. Everything runs off of power, electricity. You see. So I saw a video in light of these blackouts over there. I don't know if it was some type of a public transport, and the people are bum rushing. I don't know if it was a train or a bus or whatever, but it was basically a stampede. And then you had this old lady trying to, get on the bus or the train or whatever it was, man. And those people, they didn't give two shits about her. She had to be in her 70s, 80s. And she's just trying to, hold her own, not get trampled over. And these people don't give two shits. They didn't give two shits about Granny, So, like I said, again, it said a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. And it goes to show you that we're in the end. We're in the end. Because I remember there was a time when, you would look, people would actually look out for the elderly, They talk about chivalry's dead. There was a point where, on the bus, you saw a woman, especially the elderly, you would get up and, give your seat to the elderly, you know, to the woman, you know, and things like that. There was a time where people would look out to one another, but that shit's dead. All that shit's dead. You know, all that shit is null and void. Because everyone is get it. Everyone's in that spirit of get it how I can. Survival mode, primal mode. You see, and it's only going to get worse. You see, so like I said, there's a lot of narratives concerning these blackouts, and I'm just under the impression that, you know, it's just a beta test to see what's going on. You know, how the people are going to react, right? Reading on, it says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword." You see, man. And these people, they're just sitting back and waiting, you know. A lot of women, they're being watched, you know, doing all this grocery shopping, bragging about the food stamps and shit, you know, with no man at that, you know. And that's already happening in certain parts of America, where you have these trends in certain cities where, it's a common thing to just, you know, when you're in the grocery store, you know, some people don't even make it out the parking lot, you know, without getting robbed for the groceries. You know, that's a big thing in California. You know, that happens a lot out there. You know, but some people are getting followed home. You know, these people, you know, posting their business all on social media, not knowing that shit can get hacked. It's nothing for a demon to just, you know, hack your IP address, and you know, that's why, like I said, man, these people, because of pride, man, these people are in trouble. America's in trouble. It says, "But shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods." And again, a lot of you women are going to become the spoil. It says, "Because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." So you see, you know, shit's going to get more expensive, right? You know, people, especially these Americans, they turn a blind eye to you know, because with all this about the Dow Jones, and, you know, people don't give it, for the most part. People don't, for the common Babylonian, they don't give a damn about that. They're focused on the folly, you know. Like I just saw some shit with this demon, Kim Kardashian, some shit about her testifying in court about some shit back in what, 2018 or some shit like that. That's what these people are focused about. You know, Kim Kardashian, right? You know, you see the headlines, Kim Kardashian. Ooh, you know, well, what's going on with her? That's what these people are focused about. You know, folly, right? This shit with LeBron James and this nigga Kevin Gates. It's just folly. That's what these people are focused on. They're focused on the folly. You know, so when this information comes, because they talked about the they were talking about this the other week about how the Dow Jones was it's what's that, going back to, I think it's it was either worse than the going back to the time of the Great Depression or World War I, World War II, something like that. You know, but these people, they're not suspecting a stock market crash or anything like that. You know, and that's why, again, these people, they're in trouble, because they don't think all these plagues that's going on. Another one, Japan, right? Japan just got in a they're on high alert. They've been put on high alert because they're talking about how Japan is about to get hit with one of the biggest earthquakes. You know, they're set for a major earthquake that's really gonna, you know, basically jack them up. You know, Slovakia. Yeah, I was waiting on that. Slovakia. While y'all Bashima Shah is waiting on this. But yeah, Japan is on high alert for one of the biggest earthquakes. All right, which that could because they were talking about how this earthquake it could affect the man, what is it, man? Because of course Japan being an ally to America, you know, the trade aspect, you know, and somehow, or rather, that could again affect the trade with America. So you see, so basically, because Yahweh Shema Shai, the way that he's you know could hit you 1,000,001 ways and then some, you know. You talk about how hey the Lord's gonna hit this bitch with from all angles, from all sides, man. You know, hey the Lord is surgical with this shit. So like I said, you know, and that's just one of many examples of like the scriptures talk about earthquakes in diverse places. You know, and you have a lot of these earthquakes. They're talking about how hey a lot of these earthquakes are coming from nuclear testing. You know, so that's another thing. But yeah, that was it on that. I'll play some more of this.
Of course, the World Economic Forum just held the Cyber Polygon War Games a few years ago, right after their Events 301 War Games. Interesting there, as now people are espousing a lot of conspiracies. Are they right to espouse some of the conspiracies? In my opinion, hell yeah! Hell freaking yeah! Okay, yeah. Are you dumb? Are you stupid? There's going to be, and I've been warning about this too, there's going to be a galvanizing event that's going to change the world forever this year. Guaranteed. Some people say sometime in September, October. What if this is it? What if solar flares are just the new norm? That's a possibility too. Now, what do I think is going on here? I don't know. Is it worth extrapolating and saying, let's talk about all the possibilities here as we get more information? In fact, absolutely. If you agree, share this video. But let's talk about it. Okay. So I think the more logical explanation here, and just kind of thinking out loud here, I haven't really processed these thoughts here, and I'm just kind of getting them out there. The most logical explanation of what's really going on here is that Spain and Europe, we got to be net zero. They're cutting down their energy production, but they're not cutting down their energy needs and demands, especially when they're importing more people into their country. More people, more energy demands. When they're importing them, putting more heavy strain on the infrastructure that they deliberately cut, because of these net zero initiatives that are absolutely just insane and stupid and backwards and make no logical scientific sense at all, in my opinion, you create a situation where the grid gets strained, disaster happens. That disaster on this type of scale could be. I think the second most logical explanation to all of this is solar flare. Sun says, oh, yeah, we're just going to beam this crazy amount of energy here. But I think there would be other kind of circumstantial evidence suggesting that. And to just blame it on that, I think we would be seeing other things that would have happened here related to that. There would have been other things like cell phones fried, right? If there was a solar flare, some rare kind of Earth magnetic pull or shift, right? You would think, right? Well, people still, the generator's still working, the cell phone's still working, so was there sulfur? No, I don't think that's likely here. Another explanation could be cyber attack. And we have seen energy grids being held hostage, but not on this scale. Not two countries, not 50 plus million people all losing power at the same time. And we usually see a lot of these kind of hackers, extorters just kind of get their money and get out. No one talks about it. No one reports on it.
So yeah, that was pretty much it on that. I was going to grab this in Revelation 6. Revelation 6.
Because they don't want to create the copycat effect.
So Revelation 6. Bear with me. Because again, all these beta tests, these testing grounds, which again, I'm under the impression that what's going on over there in Europe, man, it's just another testing ground for what's going to come here to America. All right. Because in this process, while chaos is ensuing, all hell's breaking loose, when people go about it the ski mask way, all right, when it gets that bad out here, You know, a part of that, I'm going to go to this real quick, 2nd Ezra 16. Because in that process, a part of why Esau wants that controlled chaos. In this process, 2nd Ezra 16. 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 70. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. So you see, all right, this could be a mask to come against the men of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, or this will be a mask to come against Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. You know, and in that process, hey, the Lord lifting up that standard, right? When the enemy shall come in like a flood, all right. Because, hey, through the Spirit of the Lord is making moves, man. Serious moves, you know. And I often talk about how, you know, one thing that doesn't get talked about too often is the demonizing of this ministry, the saints. You know, it just came out about IUIC not being able to, you know, preach over there in, what was that? I think it's UK. The France, I think it was either UK or France, one of the two. You know, because he has to shut the prophets up, man. You know, Esau, he has to come against the prophets. The slander's only going to get you but so far. You see, so a part of why again he wants this control chaos is to come after us. All right, to shut the mouths of the prophets, but it's not up to him, you know. Ultimately, when Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai says so, all right, then that's when we'll be taken off the streets. All right, when the Lord says so, because it's not on Esau's terms. Because if it was up to Esau, he would have been came against us. It says, verse 71, they shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. And I mentioned this guy again. I forgot his name. His YouTube handler, because I just started watching him today. Going into the ICE, how they're rating homes, right? And just to speak on that real quick, because I think a lot of it has to do, you know, a lot of it is because you got people protesting with these deportations, you know, to basically it's unethical, right? You know, going back to this guy, God damn it, I forgot his name. But basically this Northern Kingdom that was taken over there to El Salvador, and you know, this whole thing with the Supreme Court telling Trump to bring his ass back over here, and Trump's like, hey man, I'm gonna do what I want to do, basically. You know, so this, you know, ever since then it's been these, or even before that, but that was just more fuel to the fire. You know, as far as these protests, right? These deportations, and supposedly you got people protesting against these illegal deportations, which I think, like I said, man, just speaking as a man, you know, a lot of it is folly. All right, I think a lot of it is horseshit, you know, because these protesters that they're, that they're, you know, putting out there, they look like Edomites, man. They look like Esau protesting. And I'll be damned if an Edomite, you know, protests on the, you know, if Esau fights on the behalf of Jake. You know, so I think a lot of it is horseshit. But nevertheless, a part of that controlled chaos, man. You know. But I was mentioning that page because a lot of his videos, his recent videos over the weeks, going into, you know, he's been touching on these deportations and things of that nature. You know, it shows in his videos, it shows a certain depiction of how things are going to be. You know, people's homes getting raided, right? You know, ICE agents working with the local police department, you know, to supposedly get these dangerous drug lords and things of that nature, you know. But nevertheless, watching a lot of his videos, man, it just gives you an inkling, a small glimpse of the dystopian type of environment that's going to be out here when it's all said and done, And then, like I said, it was a spirit that had me come across his page. I was watching some of those videos because it's a small glimpse to this, what I just read here in verse 71. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. So you see, all right, northern kingdom and southern kingdom, all right, because like the saying goes, northern kingdom gets it first, southern kingdom gets it the worst. They're coming after you southern kingdoms too, all right. Jake is about to be separated from the families, and just all manner of things, man. But again, in this process, hey, this is what's going to be happening. Doors are going to be getting kicked in. All right, it's going to get bad, man. It's going to, real uncertain. But our certainty is in Yahweh Shem Shai, and we have to, hey, like Yahweh Shai, our greatest example, hey, lay our life down. If it's our lot to get yoked up, sent off, hauled off, whatever the case may be, hey, we just have to go with the Lord's flow. We have to be like that lamb, man. Like how Shai hears that lamb, he just, hey, he offered himself up. If that's how we got to go, however the Lord plays it out, we just got to go with the Lord's program. It says, verse 73, for they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So you see, again, this is going on a small level here in America as we speak. All right, birthday parties getting raided, right? People getting kicked out of their homes. All right, more and more America is becoming dystopian. It's becoming this dystopian environment. But it goes on to show you in verse 73, then shall they be known who are my chosen, and they shall be as tried, and they shall be tried as the gold in the fire. So you see, man. And that's why I said earlier, hey, because right now we're being exercised in faith. This thing of ours is getting ready to transition from faith to faith. So like I said before, hey, we talk the talk. We're telling you what's going on, what's getting ready to happen. Hey, we are warned so that we can forewarn. But soon we're going to have to walk that walk. We're going to be living through it. All right, but we're not going to suffer the same fate as these people. All right. So like I was saying earlier, man, hey, that's why, hey, it's like, damn, Jay can't catch a break. It just seems like it's one thing after another, but hey, it's better that way, it's better that way. Again, we're being exercised in faith. All right. Faith is just becoming second nature, first nature, really, because that's what it's going to take to be able to not take that MOTB, not bug out, man. Because as we see, people are bugging out now, and we haven't seen nothing yet, right? What I'm going to do is because I got 2 more videos, and I'm gonna just this is already long-winded as it is. I don't want this to be too long, so Lord, I'm gonna just do separate videos. But I'm gonna grab this, and I'm gonna go back to that Revelation. Because like I said, people are bugging out now. People are giving up the spirit, not the spirit, but people are giving up faith now. They're giving up hope now, and we haven't seen nothing yet. The Lord ain't even really dropped the hammer yet, and people are already, you see this influx of, I was once a Hebrew Israelite. People are already throwing in the towel. Throw the damn towel. Inside joke, right? And we ain't seen nothing yet. But in all seriousness, man, that's why we have to, again, we're being exercised because it's going to get bad. But I'm going to grab this. That's Ecclesiastes, I do believe. I'm sorry, I meant Jeremiah. Jeremiah 12. Yeah, Jeremiah 12 and 6. Nope, Jeremiah 12 and 5. If thou hast run with the footmen, and they have wearied thee, then how canst thou contend with horses? So that's the point. All right. You know, because obviously horses are faster than footmen, and you can't keep up with the footmen. Well, how you gonna be? You know, how you gonna run with the horses, so to say? You know, basically, again, showing that people are giving up now. People are quitting, tapping in, throwing in the towel now, and we haven't seen nothing yet. You know, scripture say great miseries are coming. And you think it's bad now? I say it all the time. You think it's bad now? We haven't seen nothing yet, and people are already giving up, right? People are already tapping out. So going to this Revelation 6. Revelation 6 and 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, talking about America. All right, this fourth part is talking about America. To kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So, hey man, the Lord is about to, what do you call it, man? What's the term, man? Well, basically you're so afraid. What's the term? I think it's fear shocked, something like that. Because you got the term shell shocked. But basically, man, the Lord's about to really terrorize this place and these people. All right. Mind you, like the scriptures say, that the Lord's gonna bring plagues to Egypt as he did before, right? And what was one of those plagues that the Lord brought to Egypt, ancient Egypt, was that darkness. And you know, and we further have we have, the Lord gave us more insight dealing with what took place as far as that darkness in Egypt, all type of apparitions. You know, because that's why I would say America is going to be the worst place to be on the planet real soon. All right. You know, America is going to be the worst rated R movie of all time. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. I always use this comparison, you know. Because, you know, the thing here in the South, you know, they say you have to have your meat, your starch, and your vegetables. Well, typically you would always start with the least desirable, right? The vegetables, get that out the way, right? And then, you know, of course, you would go to the starch, whether it be the rice, potatoes, whatever it is. And then you save the best for last. That, you know, you hit the steak last, man. That's the best part, you know. So Yahweh Shem Shai, he's saving the best for last. And really, he's saving the worst for last, man. He's saving the worst for this place. It's just a matter of time. We see all these things, all these plagues being sent out around the world. And these people think that it's not going to come here. And that's why, again, like I read, man, hey, the pride of these cities, man. Oh, that's over there, man. That's never going to happen here. That's never come to America. All right, just wait. Just wait. Any day now, you know? Any day now. But like I said, Lord willing, I'll come back with another video, more videos, you know. Just like I said, there's a lot going on, you know, a lot going on, a lot to keep up with. So, Lord willing, this was edifying, giving all praises to you. How about Shemel Shai? Shalom to you, hopefully, like.